Well, it occurs to me that as an economist I should say the obvious. From the point of view of the Western world, it no longer has the manufacturing base to sustain a conventional war, like the First and Second World War of the last century. The base has been transferred to China, basically through exchange rate policy, where the Chinese currency was extremely cheap, undervalued, and therefore the West bought Chinese goods, and the Chinese population, labour-wise, subsidised the rest of the world, which was not very good on them because they didn't have a very high standard of living, apart from the 100 million in China that did rather well. The rest of the billion or so didn't do so well at all. They are, in effect, economic slaves. Workers at the low end of the market tend to be, of course, in any society. They have to work long hours and usually away from home much, and personal private life collapses. When, for instance, foreign buyers buy up land in your country, it improves the exchange rate of your country. I say improves, this is a pretty moot point. It strengthens the trade, it strengthens the exchange rate. But that means that foreign buyers of your goods, your exports, find it rather difficult because, in effect, the price has gone up in terms of their own currency. So they look elsewhere, and you suffer unemployment. The government deficits, where they've spent more than they receive in tax revenue, especially noticeable in the United States, but in many European countries too, and other what we might call Western countries, even though they're further east than China. To fund the deficits, of course, governments issue government bonds, which are bought by whoever in the world has spare cash, which has tended to be the Chinese economy, and the Chinese therefore hold Western government loan stock, or bonds as we used to call it anyway. You might say, well, this means that they can't afford Western economies to collapse because then their bonds would be worth nothing because we default on payment. But perhaps that doesn't matter if you own Western manufacturing and land. Well, this is all 101 economics, very simple stuff. Anyone can understand it. Blatantly obvious in hindsight. Didn't see it coming in foresight, but perhaps some people in power did. But much of the power in Western economies is in the hands of extremely wealthy individuals and corporations that are run by such. And it's very hard to get their agreement and cooperation to do what's best from a welfare point of view of society, because of course they tend to be the outstanding winners of individual competitive behaviour rather than cooperative behaviour. And it's felt that competitive behaviour deserves its rewards. Wealth. Accrual of enormous amount of wealth. One or two of such will be philanthropic in a major way, but it needs a cooperation of such to achieve welfare on national and international scale. It's a sort of distant, far removed example of the tragedy of the commons, where each individual, in doing what's best for himself, destroys the welfare of the whole community. Quite simply, that which has a common access is quickly exhausted, and welfare suffers, to say the least. The failure is not in our political or social systems. The failure is in our value systems, the values that each of us has in the society that we live in. They are the values that generate the social, political and economic systems that we have, and the outcome accordingly. You can attempt to change things from the top by revolution and cunning, but unless individuals are themselves welfare orientated, you won't get very far, at great cost. So the good news is, change is possible. It's easily within our reach. But we need a revolution of enlightenment, not a political or military or sociological or economic revolution. We need a revolution of the hearts of those people that survive. Thank you, Dad.
You see, we've objectively determined what behaviour we want from humanity. Whether it's, the way they consume the resources, or the way they breed too fast, or the way they are not prevented from warring with each other. And so we have thought to impose this upon humanity, that the utopia come. But such imposition destroys what humanity is. It forces a behaviour upon people that is the antithesis of humanity, of the value in their living in freedom and self-determination, that they may learn the fruits of good and evil action and mature to be individual initiations of goodness. Instead, our imposition breeds a rebellious people that long for life and freedom and feel that they have nothing to lose without it. We are creating, in effect, the ideal situation in which the son rebels, takes what he thinks is his, and goes off to a far country, regardless of the welfare of those that might otherwise be in his way. Quite simply, you destroy humanity by removing its freedom, its choice. Life is the exercise of freedom and choice. Survival depends utterly on freedom to make the right decisions, not the right decisions themselves, not the imposition of the utopia that is so valued. And until we learn this lesson, we will continue to attempt to dominate and tyrannize our people into submission. only to be overthrown by those who feel they have nothing to lose but their chains. Thank you, Dad. You see, this world has never been a utopia. It has always been what seems to present as a means to an end. It is an opportunity to know the fruit of good and evil actions and to choose from such experience accordingly. It is this that has determined our survival, not the imposition of those in power upon the rest, to force them to do what those in power want. Quite simply, the universe is designed as a means to an end, but not an end in itself. Not a utopia here, but a utopia beyond, which gives the desire in us to choose the good and reject the evil. This is both what humanity is and absolute foundation of its survival. This universe is designed to afford the opportunity of experiencing the fruits of both good and evil. It is the very essence of the Buddha story, where the son is brought up in the palace where he sees no harm, no death, no illness, no aging, nothing wrong, and finds such so unsatisfying that he steals out at night to experience some contrast which gives value to that which is good. And in a flash of enlightenment, looking up into the tree, realizes that evil highlights the good, that we may choose goodness in a sovereignty of freedom and enlightenment that is life itself, true eternal life, of an infinite creativity and duration, a freedom from suffering that can be attained no other way. In short, we are to graduate from this experience, not transform the world into some imposed utopia, in a sense that this world is a factory, not a hotel, a farm, not a garden park, a compost heap, not a feathered bed, a restaurant, not a banqueting suite. Work, not holiday. And no matter what you do, no matter how you organize it, it will ever be a means to an end, not an end in itself. We are not here to perfect society, but to give birth to perfected beings. It is an eternal school, not an eternal holiday. In short, we explode with boredom in the utopia we strive to create. This universe shows every sign of being perfectly designed to achieve something better in realms undreamed of. Thank you, Dad.